Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! News, where the news comes last and the weather comes later. We have had the new Master Rule for just a little while now. We have had new Link monsters, and the official first Link monster set, Code of the Duelist, is now available in TCG areas as well. And with that come text updates for various cards, 14 specifically. And it's the end of an era. We'll get to that in just a moment. Ground Collapse originally just selected 2 monster cards to be unable to be used. Now it's just main monster zones. Generally, these cards are just updated for clarification that it just goes for main monster zones as opposed to just the monster card zones, because the extra monster zone is still a monster card zone. It just works slightly differently. Magical Hats takes a monster in your main monster zone, cannot use one in your extra. A Needle Wall can destroy monsters in the main monster zone. Numbers 1 through 5. Number 57, Trihead Dust Dragon. Looks at an unused main monster zone, just like Ground Collapse. Numbly Grub in the Ice Barrier. Once again, one unused main monster zone as opposed to an unused monster card zone. Shifting Shadows, also main monster zones. Wandering Mummy, a monster on your side of the field. The monsters in your main monster zones. Zany Zebra, which I believe is a pendulum monster. Choose one unused monster zone, monster zone. Unused main monster zone. Choose one unused main monster zone. Keeps being main monster zone. Now, there are cards that use specific columns to do their effects. We've had 2 new trap cards recently released for that, but we have some older ones as well, including Blasting Fuse. Only active when all 4 zones of this card's column are occupied. Destroy all cards in this column. The all zones was normally just 4 for a very long time after this card's release. The 4 which is there as extra clarification, there are just 4 zones. There's nothing else like that. However, the 4 has now been removed due to the fact that Link monsters may be in the extra monster zone. So if this is in the 2nd or 4th spell and trap zone, from whichever side you look at it, all cards, all zones of this card's column will include the extra monster zone. So it will require 5 cards to be able to activate. Well, really 4 if you don't count the card itself. While if it's in the 1st, 3rd, or 5th spell and trap zone, you don't need the extra monster zone because there is no extra monster zone in that column. So that's an extra thing you have to keep in mind when you be using Blasting Fuse or playing against it. We're going to skip this one for a moment. Senet Switch. Move a monster on your side of the field to an adjacent unoccupied monster card zone and adjacent horizontal unoccupied monster zone to show that you do only go left and right to stick to main monster zones. And which also, it doesn't specify you can't use it on Link monster. However, there is no adjacent horizontal unoccupied monster card zone for Link monsters to my knowledge, unless they count the other extra zone as adjacent. I don't count it as adjacent because there's a gap where there clearly is a column, so I would assume it does not work with that. It still only works on main monster zones. Although it here says monster card zone, it still doesn't say unoccupied main monster card zone. So maybe we'd have to look into that. Alien Infiltrator can move to an adjacent unoccupied monster card zone. Becomes adjacent horizontal as expected. It's an effect monster, can't go to extra monster zone anyway. Storm Shooter, you can move that to an adjacent unoccupied monster zone. Becomes an adjacent horizontal unoccupied monster card zone, just like with Alien Infiltrator. Rampaging Rhinos has the same thing. Moves to an adjacent unoccupied monster card zone. Becomes an adjacent horizontal unoccupied monster card zone. And then we go to Darkness Approaches. Pretty much no one uses it in competitive play. However, it is a very famous or possibly infamous card. It's a spell card that says discard 2 cards from your hand. Select one face-up monster and flip it face down, but do not change its battle position. what if you use this on an attack position monster? No, then you just can't use it. Or it goes into face down defense. No, neither of those are true. This card was the only legal way to place a monster in face down attack position. That was a thing that was legal with this card. Likely was not intended when it was created, I assume. But it was the only legal way to put a card in face down attack position. Likely the same flip things apply when the opponent attacks into it. How that would work with a face down attack position monster doing the attacking, I'm not sure. I never really looked into that too much, I think, because the card, I would say, isn't also useful unless you have a really fancy flip effect that you want to be able to reuse. But as I said, with the new Link era, a new era has started, but an era has also come to an end, and that is the era of face down attack position, because Darkness Approaches has also received an errata. Discard 2 cards from your hand, select one face up monster, and flip it face down but do not change its battle position, has turned into discard 2 cards from your hand, select one face up monster, and change it to face down defense position. So no matter if it's face up defense or face up attack, it will go to face down defense position, which means face up attack position is gone. As of right now, it's not legal anymore by any means, as this card was the only one that made it possible. The new update, because it changes monster to face down defense position, also clarifies that it cannot be used on Link monsters due to the fact that Link monsters do not have defense, and as per their rules in the rulebook, they cannot be in defensive position by any means. Therefore, Darkness Approaches does not work on them. There are also two important notes. At the time of this being written, these texts have only been updated in the English version of the official database, not Spanish, French, German, or Italian. And also some of these cards do not have their text formatted as problem-solving card text yet. Additionally, none of these cards have announced for physical reprint. However, as they have had updates in their text online, just like I believe with the recent ruling update in regards to SAGOC in TCG, I do believe that this takes effect immediately. I'm not 100% sure, but it does seem to be the case, which means we have to say goodbye to face down attack position. Darkness Approaches. It was nice knowing you. Well, you're still there, but face down attack position. It was nice knowing you, even though I don't think I ever used you. It was fun knowing you existed. That was the news video for today. Good night and good news.